We begin with the standoff between Russia and Ukraine. Vice President Kamala Harris is expected to meet with Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky while in Munich this weekend.
Yeah, the meeting comes as fears grow that Russia is preparing to invade Ukraine. Now, Moscow claims it's withdrawing troops, but Western officials estimate Russia has amassed up to 190,000 personnel around the former Soviet state. Officials at the U.S. Embassy in Ukraine also accuse Russia of shelling at a kindergarten in eastern Ukraine. CBS News' Skylar Henry has more.
Vice President Kamala Harris is meeting with world leaders in Munich amid growing tensions between Russia and Ukraine.
We remain, of course, open to and desirous of diplomacy. We are also committed, if Russia takes aggressive action, to ensuring there will be severe consequence in terms of the economic sanctions we have discussed.
Despite insisting it won't invade, the Russian military has built up nearly 160,000 troops around Ukraine and has demanded NATO not allow Ukraine to join its alliance.
Even as we are doing everything we possibly can to make clear that there's a diplomatic path, we are deeply concerned that that is not the path that Russia has embarked on.
During a trip to Warsaw, Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin said he's seen no sign Russia is pulling back any of its troops and says the country is continuing to prepare for an attack.
It includes a number of things in terms of moving closer to the border, dispersal of troops, increasing logistical capabilities.
President Biden is hosting a call today with U.S. allies to talk about the crisis in Ukraine. The president has said he believes Russia could invade the country within the next several days.
They have not moved any of their troops out. They've moved more troops in.
On Thursday, Secretary of State Antony Blinken said Russia could attempt to justify an invasion by staging a smaller attack.
It could be a fabricated so-called terrorist bombing inside Russia, the invented discovery of a mass grave, a staged drone strike against civilians, or a fake, even a real attack using chemical weapons.
The State Department announced Secretary Blinken and Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov have agreed to meet somewhere in Europe late next week. Skylar Henry, CBS News, the White House.
CBS News foreign correspondent Holly Williams joins us with more from Ukraine. Holly, U.S. officials say Russia could have already have a false flag operation underway, and there's possible evidence of that on social media. What evidence are they talking about?
Right, so the U.S. has been warning for weeks now that Russia could stage or provoke a violent incident here in Ukraine as a pretext or as a justification for invading the country. And the U.S. now says that just such an operation, a so-called false flag operation, may already be underway. And now, just in the last few hours, we've seen a whole bunch of social media posts, all of them claiming to be from eastern Ukraine, the part of this country that is under the control of Russian-backed separatists. Let me tell you about some of those posts. One alleging that there's been an explosion, video purporting to show Ukrainian forces trying to blow up chlorine cylinders, reports that authorities in that part of eastern Ukraine have announced a mass evacuation because they claim Ukrainian forces are about to stage an operation, and videos purporting to show actually people preparing for an evacuation, including sirens going off. Now, we cannot verify any of these videos. Ukraine, for its part, has categorically denied that it's planning to launch any kind of offensive operation or an act of sabotage. And I think the whole point of those warnings from the US, from its allies, from the Ukrainian government, was in a scenario like this to make people deeply skeptical, because perhaps these are the kind of things that could be used to justify an invasion.
Russian President Vladimir Putin announced he will oversee exercises with nuclear forces tomorrow. So this includes the launching of ballistic and cruise missiles, significant artillery there. Russia says this is not a threat and people should not be worried. But how is this news being received in Eastern Europe?
Right. I mean, it's kind of mixed messages here, right? On the one hand, Russia says that these exercises shouldn't worry anyone. But as you said, it involves launching ballistic and cruise missiles. And a Kremlin spokesman talking about Vladimir Putin's involvement said, quote, "Such exercises are impossible without the head of state. You know about the famous black suitcase, about the red button and so on." To be clear, he is very clearly there talking about the nuclear button. So from the perspective of many other countries, particularly in this region, those exercises, that kind of statement is deeply inflammatory.
Certainly is. Holly Williams, thank you.